Happy Wednesday, everyone. This is Jamie Taylor, the founder of Black Golf Directory, and welcome to our fourth annual BGD Virtual Career Fair. If you've been with me the last 2 weeks, we've had some great companies from the golf industry, big companies from the golf industry, talking about all the opportunities that they provide. And really is a space for you to learn what you probably don't know about what you can do in the golf industry outside of the traditional playing golf and working at a golf course. As I've told the story every time, as a person who's played golf since the age of 7, for the last 32 years, I have not really been privy to the knowledge of working in the golf industry up until probably only, I'd say, 7 years ago. And that's why I felt this was needed because a lot of people like myself are just not aware of what goes on outside of working, like I said, at a golf course. So this is the opportunity for you to learn, ask questions from people at the golf industry, at these golf companies that have the influence and power to provide opportunities for you, employment opportunities for you, internships, and so forth. And I'm excited because the organization that I'm interviewing today is one that is near and dear to my heart. And also I formerly worked for, so being completely transparent, LPGA. I'm also an LPGA Class A member, wrong side, Class A member. And so I'm really excited about this one because I think a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about the LPGA, and I hope those will be debunked today. So I'm going to introduce my guest. I'm going to start with my first guest, have her introduce herself. Laura, welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Laura Diaz. My official title is Senior Director of Community and Inclusion. And if I was going to just summarize that into one word, you could say I'm the connector between the community organizations and the markets where we work and play and our headquarters in Daytona. But we're a global organization. We have a headquarters in Seoul, South Korea, which is our LPGA Asia office. And we also have a joint venture with the Ladies European Tour. So we also interact a lot with our colleagues in the UK.
Awesome. All right. And then I have one more guest that I'm going to bring on, and that is Miss Dion. Welcome, Dion.
Hello, hi, I am Dion Davis, Manager, Talent and Culture at the LPGA. What that means is I get to go out and meet all of these fantastic candidates that are going to come work with the LPGA and help us make sure that our players get the best experience possible. I am at the headquarters as well with Laura, and our headquarters is in Daytona Beach. But we have a lot of people who are always traveling, so we're a very mobile workforce.
Yes, mobile is for sure. Like I said, having worked there, I got to experience a lot of great things. So I'm going to be sharing a lot of my insights as well because I think, like I said before, working for LPGA, I was not aware of what goes on in the corporate side or business side of golf, and so they shed a lot of light on that for me and gave me a lot of opportunity. So, ladies, if you could just talk about, I don't know, Laura, maybe talk about the LPGA specifically, what departments are there and what you all do.
Yeah, so, I think the most common area of our business that people know is the LPGA Tour, right? So the tour is the organization that you see on TV and our players playing, for money and to become the best golfers in the world, really. That's where you see the talent and the pipeline of female golfers all over the world. So that's the tour, and then under that umbrella, we have the foundation, right? So that's the area of our business that's really all about creating greater societal impact, where we have our girls golf programs, where we have financial aid opportunities, scholarships. So really everything that has to do with growing the game. We also have a recreational arm to the LPGA, which is the LPGA Amateur Golf Association, which is all about getting women together as a way to play golf, to connect with each other, to learn from each other, and really a space where they can belong within golf. And then we also have the Epson Tour, which is what you would say is our developmental or road to the LPGA Tour. So every year we have a list of graduates, so we have 10 Epson Tour players who get their LPGA Tour cards. And that event is actually happening this week in Daytona. the end of the season. And then we have the LPGA teaching professionals, which Jamie is a member of, and that is the group of 1,900 members who are out in the field teaching the game, running golf clubs, and really inspiring the next generation of golfers. Did I miss anything, Dion?
I think you're good, but I am going to have Dion talk about the corporate side of the LPGA and specifically what opportunities or what departments exist there and jobs that may be available.
Yeah, we are not just players. We're not just the people out on the course during the tournaments, setting up, running it, taking it down. We're also from a wide range of degree programs. We have the finance, marketing, communications, so much social media and content production that's going on right now. And we're seeing growth in all of these really exciting areas. Another big question we get is, do I have to play golf to work at the LPGA? Absolutely not. I mean, if you know the game and you understand it, that's a bonus. But we're always open to bringing new people in and teaching you about what the LPGA does and how everything that we do, from the staff accountant to, our rules officials, every single person has an impact on the organization and our players. So we want individuals from all kinds of backgrounds and degrees, and there's a place for almost anybody at the LPGA.
And I do have one other question that is often asked at career fairs. Do you have to be female to work at the LPGA?
No way. I mean, you would, I can see where that assumption would come from, but having a diverse community of team members means everybody's welcome. So, we want to make sure that we have that nice balance of gender and that everybody is represented on our team.
Yeah, for those just joining in, I mentioned I'm a former employee of the LPGA. I came in as an events coordinator and then got promoted to programs manager. And the reason why that was significant for me is because prior to that transition, I was running golf courses and I did all the traditional things that aspiring golf professional does. I played golf, went through college, got my LPGA certification, worked at a golf course, ran a golf course. And it wasn't until I saw the job posting about needing an events coordinator at Daytona Beach that I even considered working at the LPGA. It never even crossed my mind. And the reason why is because I didn't know anyone who worked there. I didn't know if I was qualified to work there because I had never worked in an traditional office job. And I just didn't know anything about it. It was kind of a secret to me. So when I was, brought in and hired, I was pretty amazed. One, at just, how traditional the corporate space looks like in the golf space. It's like any other corporation that you see out there. Like Dion alluded to, you got IT departments, you got the legal department, you got all those things that if you're in any field that you work in at any other company, they have that there. And then also just knowing what I did, I was, doing events. Events for me was no different than running a golf course events. I mean, they were on a larger scale. I got to go to some cool tour stops, but at the end of the day, I still had to follow similar formulas that I did at my golf course. So I say all that to say all the skills that you have in a normal corporation, banking or any other corporation, it's very transferable at the LPGA. So with that, I'm going to go back to Laura. If you could talk about your transition into the golf space, because I know you're a golfer like myself and your background. Can you share with the audience how you transitioned into golf in a corporate space and specifically to LPGA?
Yeah, happy to share. So yeah, similar to Jamie, I'm a lifelong golfer. I'm originally from Puerto Rico. I grew up in a small town that had access to a public facility. So my family, my dad, my brother, and I grew up playing, the game together. And I eventually came to university in the U.S. So I played college golf in Tennessee, East Tennessee State. And then when I graduated, I knew I wanted to stay in golf just because I really, I always I was very curious about the industry. And I always saw, like, when you're at tournaments, you always kind of see the same people. Like, you always see the tournament directors and the rules officials. So I was asked a lot of questions, like, how did you get to do that? And so that I eventually had the opportunity to go back to Puerto Rico and work for the Golf Association. And I always recommend those that aren't maybe interested in dipping their toes in golf to start with a regional or local association, because you get to dip your toe in everything. You get to learn about, golf course setup and marking a course and even putting up tents, taking them out, like all the operational things you need to know about tournaments, you can learn there. So that's how I started, similar to Jamie, just putting together our junior and amateur competitions, working with our national teams. So I did have a big, a lot of opportunities to travel all over the world in that space. And then I eventually came back after spending a couple years in Puerto Rico to the University of Georgia, where I did my master's degree, because I knew that perhaps going back to school would get me build a bigger network, right? I could get to meet more people that could set me in the path that I wanted to be. And that's how I ended up with an internship at the PGA Tour, but working at First Tee headquarters. And I think you all had First Tee yesterday. So I worked for them for close to 7 years. And I also spent some time at the PGA Tour. Same thing, putting on events for young people. Mostly, I would bring in kids from their local chapters, and we do national events. It'd be 100 kids at a college golf campus. So everything that I did kind of at the beginning when I started with the Golf Association really helped me. And I also had a lot of fun. I got to work for PGA Tour Latin America, and I call that my bucket list job, because I got to travel to 14 different countries over 2 seasons, and it was great. I was engaged in golf, and but I knew that I was reaching for a little bit more. And then I came to the LPGA in 2019. So it's been almost 5 years. Started with the foundation, kind of same that I was doing. I worked closely with Jamie with our leadership academies that were events, but also leading the strategy. And that's kind of where the shift came, because I got to be more moved from the heavy execution to a little bit more strategy and leading a team. And here I am now, and working in our community inclusion space, which I like, because I get to work with the full organization. I get to work with our legal team, and working on setting policies, procedures. I get to work with Dion and the team over at Talent and Culture, to continue to building that internally. I work on our professionals team. So I enjoy the fact that not one day is the same, and that I get to work with so many different people.
Thank you for that journey. It's, like I said, getting into golf for, I think, anybody I know isn't a straight path, like maybe in a typical corporate space. You're always kind of dipping in and out of maybe nonprofit space into the for-profit space, and just to get that experience and the connections. And so, Dion, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you are started out as a golfer. You hopefully have a little dabble in the golf now, but like I said, correct me if I'm wrong. And can you tell the audience a little bit how you ended up at LPGA?
Yeah, thanks. Absolutely. No, you're right. I don't play golf well. I enjoy it, but there's no fear of me trying to go even amateur. I'm not going to be going there. My path to the LPGA was, that HR focused. I really worked a lot in the professional services forum, CPA firms, that sort of thing. And when I started looking for a new career path, or actually new employer, I saw the LPGA and really recognized that it's mission driven. A lot of places you're really working to put money in the pockets of the stakeholders. But here at the LPGA, we're working for our mission, which is to make the game of golf for women more accessible all around the world, and empower women, not just on the golf course, but everywhere else. So when you come to work here, you know that you're actually making a difference, and it feels good. So that was my path to the LPGA, was finding a way for my talents to fit into the mission of the group. And it's been a great experience getting to learn about all of the ways that Laura and her team really touch so many different facets of, the LPGA, our players, our members, the communities around there, girls golf. So it's exciting to see how you can go from not even thinking about working for a golf place to being so really invested in what we're doing.
You're right. That was definitely something I could say was a difference, even in the golf space. You know, when you work for a golf course, you're just trying to make sure you make a profit, right? You don't want to be in the red at the end of the season. But when you work for an association like the LPGA, you're focused on something bigger. And it was really fun to pretty much, like Laura said, travel and get to expose as many young people and women to the game in fun ways, and hopefully get them to become, fans and enthusiasts of the game, not just the tour, but the game as a whole. So, with that said, this is a career fair. We want to give our audience a little bit of insight as to what career opportunities would you say are currently available, whether it's an internship program or a full time. What do you have available now, and what does that look like as far as application timelines and so forth? Dion, sorry.
So we do have a constant, seems like a constant, a consistent rotation of positions available. Some are fully remote because you're going to be traveling. Others are going to be based here in our Daytona Beach office. And right now, we're really seeing a lot of growth in that communications, marketing, content production realm. So we have those jobs come up. It's really our intent to make sure that everybody can see the positions that are available. So we don't just put them up there and take them down a week later. We have them up on our website for a good amount of time so that anybody who's searching can come in there and see what we have going on. We're currently recruiting for some coordinators to help with tournament operations, in marketing, in partnerships. And then, there's always the be on the lookout for great talent. So even if there isn't a job listed that someone is interested in or fits their talents, we encourage you to reach out to the LPGA talent and culture team. Let us know you're interested, because we will hang on to those resumes of really great people and reach out when those opportunities come around. And if they're interested in knowing when jobs are posted, they can go to lpga.com/careers and sign up for job alerts. So anytime we post a new job, they'll get a message saying, hey, the LPGA has something new.
That's good to know. So if you didn't hear, audience, lpga.com/careers will sign up for job alerts. That's something that I think quite a few organizations do, but you're probably the first one I've interviewed that has said that they provide those alerts. So something to definitely look out for. And again, I want to encourage those who've joined in with the LPGA. So we're talking about their job opportunities. They have a lot of full-time opportunities available now. So if you have any questions to put in the chat about that, or what you just heard, please share. And anything you want to know about LPGA, this is your time to ask, so don't wait. So with that said, I want to talk about getting into the LPGA. There's obviously a process for getting these jobs, and it's not too far-fetched from other opportunities. However, what is it that you look for? What do you find to be the most appealing when an applicant applies, whether it be through the resume and or the interview process? I'll start with you, Dion, but I also would like to hear your perspective, Laura.
What we're looking for is, at first glance, you do want someone who's able to communicate their experience well. How does their past experience relate to the LPGA? So maybe a brief paragraph of a cover letter stating your intent and your interest, making sure that resume looks crisp and that you've got all of that lined up and looking good. Because remember, we're also looking at that resume to say, okay, do they have the technical skills to put out some of this content that we need? So you're always going to put your best foot forward, even when you're just typing your resume into the system. Past that, we're looking for people who really have an interest in being a part of this group. Individuals who, will make the time to have those conversations with us. Let us share with you a little bit about what our mission is, and to get behind what you're doing. We are so lucky that we have a lot of applicants for our positions. So we're fortunate to be able to find those people who have a passion for the LPGA, whether they're golfers or not. So I would just recommend, like I said, putting your best foot forward, even with the resume. When you're having your interviews, make sure you're on time, make sure you're kind of put together well so that we can immediately determine that you're taking it seriously and interested. The other piece of it is our job descriptions, our job posts are going to list the qualifications that we need. So we're going to share with you right off the bat, what type of experience, what type of educational needs, that sort of thing. So if maybe you don't have everything, go ahead and apply because we do take the whole package into consideration. Just make sure that you really can do the job that you're applying for. And we're excited to hear from you.
Thanks. Laura, I would like to have you answer the same question, but also can you talk about, I know on the foundation side, there's not just paying roles, there's obviously volunteer roles. I'm alluding to site directors and so forth. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly with what Dion shared. And I think, of course, with what you quote unquote call the hard skills, right, which is what you have on your resume that you can do or that you've accomplished, right, perhaps what you went to school for, perhaps what your previous roles were. But then with that also comes what we call the soft skills, right? Like, your demeanor, your attitude, right? Your willingness to be, your willingness to be able to accept feedback, right? Your desire to grow within the organizations. And I think those are things that I know that we all look for in the organization. And I know that when I'm hiring, I definitely look for those. And even, many times we ask for references, if not every single time, right? And making sure that those references that you pick, really, really are able to speak positively about you, because that's when you're not in the room, right? So that really matters. But I think here at the LPGA, and the culture that we've built with what we called Act Like a Founder, right? And it's all about sort of embodying the spirit of the 13 women that founded the organization 73 years ago, when golf for women, wasn't a thing, right? When women really were welcome in the game, right? So we take that really seriously as part of our culture, and we really want people to embody that spirit, to kind of be out here to get the work done. Sometimes it's not pretty, and I think a lot of people here within the organization, they can have big titles, whether it's, vice presidents or such, or sometimes you even see our commissioner, when she's at an event, she's out there, wanting to fix everything if there's anything that went wrong, or but that's really what, in addition to the hard skills, what we look for. And, we have an internship program. I want to make sure that we mention that. Applications for those typically open at the start of the year, and the internship runs usually from maybe like late May to early August. And it's a program that covers all areas of our business. So there's usually one intern that's designated to, let's say, finance and talent and culture, and then the foundation and the professional. So I think this summer we had close to 8 young people that came to us from really all over the US, which was really cool to have them here and give them those experiences. And then on the volunteer side, what Jamie mentioned earlier, so at the LPGA Foundation, we have a program called LPGA USGA Girls Golf, which is really all about introducing golf to girls in a fun way. And that's a big opportunity to be engaged with the LPGA, because you can start a girls golf program. So let's say I'm already a golf teacher, or I graduated college and I want to give back to the game, and perhaps I have a full-time job, at Ernst & Young, for example. You could open a girls golf site at a local facility near you to get girls engaged in the game. And like Jamie said, that's totally volunteer, but we provide most of the resources. It comes at no cost, and you're eligible for grant funds to be able to support your program. So the same with the LPGA Amateur Golf Association. You could join there, and then you could become part of their leadership team, on a volunteer basis. So there's different ways to engage with us aside from the tour, right, or going to our tournaments. Is that helpful?
Very helpful. And I just want to make a point to say that, again, definitely on the girls golf side, you do not have to be a female to be a site director. We have several men who run girls golf programs. And we even have people, as Laura alluded to, that are not golf teachers necessarily. They have regular jobs, but they work with, say, a golf pro at the local golf club to help them execute their girls golf program. So, we're always in need of that, because the mission, as they said, is to grow the game get more females in the game. And so I just want to encourage the audience to either consider starting one or consider volunteering for one, because it's I'm as a girls golf site director, and I've been involved with girls golf program. I'm also an alumni. It is a life-changing experience for everybody involved. I have a question in the chat. Do you have to be an elite golfer to apply? And I guess that means in any of the roles. Dion, you want to take that one?
You do not have to be an elite golfer to apply. Not at all. You don't even have to play golf. Even if you want to intern with us, we have our summer internship program. Those internships are paid. And we, like Laura said, we start looking at those resumes later in the year, around November, December, January, early the next year. We post those on our job board. But you do not in any way have to be an elite golfer. You don't have to be a player. You just have to have a passion for the LPGA and our mission, and doing a great job and keeping the ball rolling along.
Yeah, I can definitely say, having worked there, I was surprised. I'll be honest. Coming into the LPGA, like I said, as a member, I had been a member of the association of the LPGA professionals, and my assumption was that everybody who works at a golf company, or specifically at an association like LPGA, would be at least at minimum a recreational golfer. I was surprised at how many of my colleagues did not golf at all, and to the point where I actually started golf classes for the company, LPGA Golf 101, which was really cool because it allowed me a time to work with people in the C-suite as well as entry level, every level, to teach them the game that I love. And we were right down the street from us, which is one of the perks of working there, is the LPGA National Golf Course. So we had access to this beautiful facility, and it was just a great way to engage with our coworkers, as well as, again, expose them to the game that a company they were working for, and know what the game is all about. So in addition to the perks, and if anyone who's joining has a question, feel free to put it in the chat. Can you share a cool experience you've had since you've worked at the LPGA? Because there's a lot, people ask me all the time, do you see tour players all the time? Did you meet so-and-so? Can you share a cool experience? I'll start with you, Laura.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like definitely when you're on the road, there's a lot of really great experiences, but one that comes to mind is our end of the year Rolex Awards. So this is an event that is a celebratory gala that we host in Naples, Florida, at our CME Group Tour Championship, which is our end of year sort of season finale event. And this is really a celebration of all of the players and everything they've done. So Rolex sponsors, so it's very fancy. And at the end, everybody gets these Rolex chocolates, and they have like the Rolex logo on them, which I thought was amazing because they're delicious. But you do get to, sit with the players, and there's, the rookie of the year, the player of the year. There's usually, all the Golf Channel talent is there presenting. And the year I went, it was, sort of a farewell to Judy Rankin because she was retiring. So if you know golf, that was pretty special. And it's just it's a really cool night to celebrate all the accomplishments, because I think that when you work in organizations that move at a really, really fast pace, sometimes you don't realize everything that you're doing, or some of maybe you see some of the setbacks because you're in it so much. But it's just a special night to celebrate. So Rolex Awards would be for me.
That's super cool, Laura. Sorry, Jamie, talking over you there. Something that was fun for me, I'm relatively new to the LPGA. I've been here 2 years, and being in HR, I don't really go out to the tournaments and get to, be involved in the players and the awards and stuff. So I don't have as much exposure as Laura, but we still get to see some of these really cool things. We have an annual all hands summit, and that's where our team members get together and really bond and understand what everybody else is doing throughout the year. And this year we were fortunate to have some of our professionals, our teachers, come in and teach us at Talk Golf, how to make your swing better and that sort of thing. So it was neat getting to learn from people who are actually teaching others at the courses and at the tournaments and stuff. So we got a little bit of help with our swings, but it's pretty neat, the stuff that we get to see.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I didn't know, Dion, you had made it out, and you gotta work your magic and get access to a tournament, because most of the people I have, when I worked there, had at least one opportunity, and I think that was one thing I thought was pretty cool. Even the receptionist mentioned she had gone to a couple events, and I was thinking, that's the cool thing, is that you don't necessarily have to be the event side of the company to necessarily get access, or at least be invited to come, even if it's on your own time, just to see it. um, I want to share my experience, because what Laura alluded to, yes, we get to see some cool events like the CME. We stay at some very nice hotels, ones that I could not afford. But one of the best experiences we have is going to the Evian. They just had the Evian Junior Championship in Evian, France. So it's not something that comes after the first couple years, but let's say I was there 5 years. So I would say by my third year or so, they used to send two staff to do a championship. You take your best top two girls and boys 14 and under in the country to play against 15 other 14-year-olds and or younger in other countries in Evian. And I can't even describe how beautiful it is just to be there, but I had never been to France. So just to have the experience of going to France, taking these top elite golfers, these players I hate to say it, could mop the floor with me. They were so good. In fact, the girl I took, our team was a champion. And by the way, we just went there, I would say, yeah, last week, and also won again 2 weeks ago. Also won again. I don't know if I won't say we're undefeated, but we've had a streak of winning when we go over there, and also breaking records. But when I was there, my team not only broke records, the girl who was the champion just won her first LPGA Tour event, Alexa Panel, a few weeks ago. So as I felt like a proud mama to have seen her go from age 14 to now 19, and now be an LPGA Tour player. So that's how good these kids are, that I got to take over to France. And I know that's a very, special event that not everybody goes through, but if you're at the company long enough, it's one of the things they do offer, as well as other special opportunities. So I just put that out there because, you think, oh, I'm going to go with the LPGA Tour. Depending on what you work in, you may or may not be working at the tourist stops all the time. But the opportunities do present themselves, and there's usually some events locally, like Laura mentioned. There's the Epson Championship happening right now at the LPGA International. So I just want to put that out there for people who may be wondering, like, what it's like to really work for a tour. Is there, and then also Laura's wearing it, the swag. I love the swag, the LPGA swag. You get lots of that. So that's something else to look forward to. Ladies, are there any other things that you could share with the audience about um, expectations when they work there, as far as either the day to day, or things that you didn't realize until you got there? Anybody want to share anything? Go ahead, Dion.
One of my surprises is how accessible our leadership is. Our commissioner, when she's in the office, she's walking around. She's saying hi to everybody. How was your weekend? What's going on? This is someone who is incredibly busy. We've all seen, she's on, this sports show talking about it. Then she's flying over to another tournament. Then she's back in the office at board meetings. But she takes the time to engage, so much so that at this past summer, we have a ping pong table in our lobby. And this past summer, she played a round of a ping pong tournament with our interns. So she doesn't forget that we are a sport, and we are, a game, and we need to have fun in what we do. So that was a big surprise to me, to see how engaged our leaders really work to be with not just the players, but with everybody who works here. I loved that.
Yeah, I'm really bummed about the fact that the ping pong table came after I left the LPGA, because just so everybody knows, I need to say this publicly. I had a ping pong trophy as a kid, and I feel like I could have dominated had I been there. But I got to play tennis though across the street. They have a tennis center, just as another perk to the job. Laura, did you have something to add?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think here what I really enjoyed is that there's so many people that are committed to doing the work. And I think that that's something that probably translates over to other people, and that's infectious, because you do have that multi-generational workforce at the LPGA. I work with people who have been here for 37 years, right? You have people who are just graduating college and starting with us. So I think just really having that type of workforce where you have the younger people with folks that have been here for a long time, and they really talk about preserving, our traditions, and really preserving the history and those core values within the organization. That's something that really you could see that sort of transpiring to other people. And that, I know that for me, has been big on commitment and really being committed to the work, be committed to the organization. Yes. And if you know me, I like to have fun, and I think it's that good quote unquote balance of that work and play that we instill within the organization that just makes it want to be a place where you work. After the pandemic, we have instilled a hybrid work schedule. So, they're like, today I'm in the office, and I enjoy having a space because I get to see my colleagues. You kind of, if you need to, to really work on projects, you have everything that you need here. But I also work from home, a couple of days a week, which I think is important. Like I mentioned before, for everybody within the organization to have a little bit of flexibility. And I think the LPGA has been, forward thinking in that area.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I wanted to touch on that because that was a question in the chat about the remote working opportunity there. So can you share, Dion, just expectations in that regards? I know every department is different, but just what the typical expectation is for people coming into the company. Is there remote working opportunity? And if so, what does that look like?
Yeah, and it depends on the role. I'm sorry, I lost my earbud there. It really depends on the role that you're in, whether or not that position is remote. There are some positions like finance or the creative team. Those are majority going to be in office with that hybrid opportunity. But then we have the fully remote roles. Those are going to be the people who are tour operations. They can live wherever they want because they're traveling most of the time. So it's a wide range of opportunities. But like Laura said, if you're not a remote employee, we still have that hybrid workforce where you can have those days, maybe those days at home are the days you really focus on certain tasks without interruptions and get things done. But we also really love being in the office together because there's so much collaboration that goes on when you just run into somebody in the hallway and start a discussion and realize you can do some things together. So it's a mix, I would say.
And the follow-up question to that, because we've gotten that in quite a few of our interviews, is if someone applies for a role, whether it be intern or full-time, what is a transition help, or what does that look like if for someone having to come to Daytona Beach from some other state?
Again, that's going to depend on the role. If you have a very specialized career field and we have sought you out to, have you in this position, we'll certainly help with that transition and with that move. For other roles that are, entry level or that sort of thing, we don't necessarily provide that move help, with that reimbursement. But that is something that we really look at on an as needed basis. Each person is really unique, and we want to make sure that we are getting the right people. So for certain positions, we definitely will work with you on that.
Yeah, we have someone in the chat that said they're interested in applying for a role. They didn't say specifically what role at the LPGA, but they just alluded to the fact that remote work was of interest to them. So what would be your recommendation, Dion, on approaching that conversation in an interview? What would, especially if let's say it's not entry level, let's assume that it's a highly skilled or skilled role. What would be your recommendation on approaching that?
One of the things that's been important to us is being very transparent with our applicants about what the role is, where the job is located, what comes with that role, because we don't want to waste your time trying to figure out if this is going to work for you and, having all of the interviews. So the first time you speak to an LPGA recruiter or team member, we're going to talk to you about what that salary expectation is. We're going to tell you whether this is a remote only position, if it's a hybrid position, what those expectations of your time would be. And then once we've had that screening and we've talked to each other and understand those needs and wants, then we can say, okay, yeah, this is the right position for us to continue on with. We can discuss those moving needs and that sort of thing. So we try to make sure in that first discussion that you get all the information you need, so do we.
Thank you.
And ask questions. Sorry, I was going to say, don't hesitate to ask those questions too, because we can't think of everything, but we're always interested in answering and making sure you know what you're getting into.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very important thing because, like you said, not every role is going to be remote or have that ability. So that's good to know. Well, as we start to wrap up, if anyone has any questions, because we'll be wrapping up soon, please put them in the chat. Thank you for those who did submit questions and comments. I had some people try to challenge me on the ping pong, which I am here for any day of the week. Oh, we have another question. The question is, it says the LPGA is unique because so much is under one umbrella. You have the tour, teaching, foundation. Do you think that makes the LPGA unique and beneficial? And I guess the question would be why? Who wants to take that?
Yeah, I can speak to that. And I would say 100%. I think that's what makes us unique and what makes us special as an organization, to have everything under one umbrella, because you could say that we do have that pipeline, right? Or that quote unquote road to the LPGA, right? You can start as a junior golfer through our girls golf program, and then you can graduate to our leadership academies, which is for teenagers. Once you are in college or in the workforce, you could join our LPGA Amateur Golf Association, right? And then if you want to work for us, you can explore careers. And if you're an elite golfer, you can join the LPGA Tour. So it's very, not every organization has that, especially in golf. So we're very proud of it, that you can be part of it. And then if you decide to join us career-wise, if you start in one area of business and you decide that you may be interested in another area of business, you might be able to move depending on your skill set and what's available. So there's just a lot of opportunities within the LPGA.
Yeah, I can definitely say when I was there, I saw people transition from the foundation to the tour side, when opportunities presented themselves. And of course, because you're right there all together in the same building, you're interacting with both the departments or all the departments, which makes it a lot easier to, one, be privy to what's coming up, and then network with those other departments and see if, like you said, the skills that you have can transfer into other roles and maybe higher paying roles, depending on where you start with the company. We had another question. Would your salary be based on the location you live in if you are a remote worker? I'll pass that to Dion.
No, our salaries are based on the role and the ranges that we have preset for each position. So if we have moved you to a state or a county or a city that has a higher cost of living, we could talk about a geographical differential, but our salaries are set in a certain way to make sure that everybody has the same shot when they get here.
These are some great questions. And again, if anything doesn't get answered, if you have more questions, in the email that's going to go out after this with the recording, I'll be sure to put Dion's contact so you can directly reach out to her regarding any questions. Ladies, as a wrap up, if you could just share with the audience, for someone who is interested in coming to work for LPGA, why do you think they should consider? What do you think they should? I guess, why do you think it's a good reason for them to come out to LPGA? Let's start with you, Laura.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what our commissioner says, right? She really believes in, subsequently, I believe that really this is really our time, right? We continue to see that women's sports are just growing and growing. There's so much more investment in women's sports. So it's just the right time to be part of an organization who is focused on advancing, creating more opportunities for women in professional sports, but also, you know, in the recreational arm, right? And just in the junior space, it's just all about wanting to get more women into the game and creating that community. So if you want to be part of that, then I would encourage anyone to apply.
All right, Diane, what's your thoughts, your last thoughts to share?
I would say that just like Laura said, you know, we've got this mission, and we're working hard to make sure that we have the growth of the game nationally, internationally, and empowering and supporting our women and players. But we've been this way since we started in 1950. We were started by a group of women who weren't allowed to play where they wanted to. And they really developed a hard and strong, you know, commitment that if one person doesn't play, none of us plays. So they make sure, you know, they were the leaders. We have always had this mission to grow the game, but support people, make sure it's diverse, and it's only getting better. So to be a part of the growth of this team and seeing what we have to do is pretty an exciting place to be. And knowing that what you're doing, I can't stress this enough. Whether you're in tour operations, whether you're in finance or legal, everything we do is going towards that mission. So you can really be proud of what you're doing and where you're working.
Thank you for that. And got some great comments in the chat. So hopefully you'll see some resumes soon. For those who are interested in applying, feel free to send your resume directly to Black Golf Directory if you just want me to get it directly to Dion, but also you can peruse their website to see if there's a specific role that you want to apply for now. And she mentioned this earlier, if you missed it early in the chat or the conversation, that they have a job alert on their lpga.com careers website, that if there is an opportunity that you're looking for now available, they can send you email alerts whenever there's new jobs posted. But I will be sending out an email. So at the top of the chat, wherever you're coming in from, Facebook or YouTube, there's my link that you can sign up if you haven't already for the newsletter that will come out with the recording, the job careers page that they have, Dion's email contact, so that you can, learn more about the LPGA. So I want to thank you again. Tomorrow we have interview with the PGA Tour. So we're on a tour track. We've got 2 more interviews this week. So please tune in at noon tomorrow. And thank you again, Laura Diaz and Dion Davis, for your time. And thank you to everyone who followed us. I look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow at noon. Have a great day.
Thanks, Jamie.